most people
Bleach. Ever heard of Bleach? Yes, no. I love this anime. The really MVP of Bleach. Let's check it out. If you know, apparently it's about Kin. Like, do you know what the fuck talks about Kin from Bleach? This guy. Do you know what I want to fucking know? What the fuck he has to say about Gin? Because really fucking like I agree with the fucking like really MVP of Bleach. I don't even know why, but I fucking love the I love how like Gin is portrayed in Bleach, and I'm really curious about like I like the character before, like why does he think that he's the real MVP? I'll fucking know, but like I'm really curious because I agree, like literally without any knowledge that like Gin in Bleach, it could be the MVP. It could be the real MVP, you know? So let's check it out.
people will tell you the MVP of Bleach is Ichigo, Aizen, or Rukia. But what if I told you they're all wrong? Because there's one character who shaped the story from the shadow.
Actually, I agree. Big simp of Rukia. Big simp of Rukia. Ichigo, completely not. Aizen, yeah, but like there is a story past Aizen, right? Right. I'd say Urahara, like Kisuke, right? Or like, but like, yeah. Rukia, Kisuke, like Ichigo, I think like Ichigo is like really kind of like, I don't know.
Who manipulated captains, deceived Aizen, and broke our hearts without ever raising his voice. And somehow, most people still underestimate him. Today, I'm making the case for Gin Ichimaru, the real MVP of Bleach, the man who controlled the narrative of the story both on screen and off.
And I think that like it kind of talks about like you never notice that like Gin is the only like kind of like fucking psycho in Bleach. I just kind of thought about it. Like a lot of people like a freaking like in Bleach there is like a colorful like cast of like character portrayed with different type of personality. Gin represents really the fucking psycho killer, like that just is there, and I really never noticed that. And once you notice it, like think about it, is happiest man alive that you'll see, Gin, and basically that's all you kind of like know or care about him. Then you rethink about like the whole like then take the time to fucking like rethink about like the whole story of Bleach, right? And it's like there's a fucking psycho killer named Gin in the middle of a fucking anime about like trying to fucking like prove something or like do something or like be dangerous or like fucking, and like I just noticed that like like Gin is like basically the psycho killer. You know, like when they tell you, you know, like dangerous people, like fucking sociopaths or like psychopaths, right? You don't fucking notice them, right? And I'm like, I really didn't notice the fucking like psychopathic like Gin is in front of like during like in the whole fucking show. And you never fucking, and I never fucking took the time to know, like really never noticed. And I'm like, you know, like when you see like real crime type of like documentaries, right? You're like, these dumb people, how the fuck didn't they notice, right? And I'm like, I never fucking noticed that like Gin is the psycho killer in front of like all these other like cast of characters, and it's like, oh yeah, makes sense because like really at this point, like literally, like it just doesn't fucking say that he's a fucking psycho killer. Like Gin doesn't fucking like talk about himself, like describe himself as a fucking psycho killer, right? But like technically he is. And I'm like, wait a fucking moment. This is what, oh my fucking god, I understood what, well, anyway.
To understand how crucial Gin is to Bleach, you need to start with his story. Not the story of betrayal or villainy, but the one about a boy who found a girl passed out in the
All right.
streets and gave her food, a girl named Rangiku. From that moment on, Gin and Rangiku became inseparable, and what looked like an innocent friendship between two children of poverty became one of the most important relationships and storylines in the series. Because one day Gin sees something, Aizen holding the Hogyoku. Standing behind him are three men, the same three men he'd seen near Rangiku the day she collapsed. That's all it took. One glance. From that day forward, Gin's aspirations in life were simple. Kill Aizen. Think about that for a second. This was a child. For the rest of his life, everything he did, and he did a lot, was all part of this plan to end Aizen's life. It tells us something else too. In an instant, Gin deduced correctly that the
Literally, like,
Hogyoku steals energy from those who are near it. This was what hurt Rangiku. No one told him, he figured it out, and he was right. The ability to correctly process information so quickly, based off so little, is ridiculous. But that's not even the most impressive part. Imagine the willpower it'd take to pretend to be Aizen's ally for decades, to smile, to serve, to commit atrocities for him, all for revenge there's no guarantee he could ever pull off. Oh, and while within the story he's trying to fool Aizen, outside the story, we are aware of none of this. Like Rukia, who I covered here, Gin realizes to accomplish his goal, he must become a Shinigami. Rukia did it for herself, Gin does it over a decade
anyway.
for Rangiku, and I don't blame him. Her tears from the day they met are forever ingrained in his psyche, and he never wants to see that again. So he will do whatever it takes to protect her smile. The longer this plays out, you realize this isn't simply a great revenge story, it's a philosophical tale. It takes a standard question like, what would you do for the people you love, and morphs that into something far more complex. There's a quote that appears in the manga, and it couldn't be more fitting. Those who claim to know what love is, liken it to ugliness. This is literal. The axe Gin does out love is...
Wait, what? Those who claim to know what love is liken it to ugliness. So they love to love until it's ugly. Okay.
Liken it to ugliness. This is literal. The axe Gin does out of his love for Rangiku couldn't be uglier. So the question becomes, if
Yeah, okay, that's interesting. That's a beautiful
you're
quote.
willing to do anything for love,
So basically, like, yeah, if you the people who truly love someone or something actually become ugly because of how much they love there's someone or something, you know, like, this is actually really cool.
are you still worthy of being loved yourself? It's a question that plagues him. If the roles were reversed, would he still love her after everything she'd done? Could he accept her? Can she accept him? By the way, this is my first Gote 13 video. After rekindling my love for Bleach, I decided I need to cover these people, so make sure to check out the ones coming in the next few weeks as well. Gin and Rangiku enroll in the Shinigami Academy together, and it doesn't take long to realize Ginichimaru is a prodigy. Like a snake, he's cold, calculating, and efficient. This process takes him exactly where he wants to be, the 5th Division, the same as Lieutenant Aizen. This is where the aforementioned ugliness really begins. Gin kills a seated officer in his own division. Not only does Aizen cover it up, he's impressed. He helps Gin fill that open position and brings him into his inner circle. From here, things only get worse. First it was murder, then it's partaking in the Soul Society's version of MK Ultra, and the list goes on and on. These crimes he partakes in span decades. To gain the trust of Aizen, he discards his own morality. Again, this is the only side we see of him for the majority of the story. We don't know his motives until later. His goal never changes, but his methods get uglier and uglier. A perfect example is his interaction with Rukia before her execution. She has resigned herself to the fact that she's going to die. Then Gin appears and says, "I can help you escape." In this moment, he gives her something she didn't even realize she still had: hope. The belief that maybe, just maybe, she'll live. Then just as quickly as he gave it to her, he snatches it away. Just kidding. And it breaks her. She screams in anguish. Not because she's going to die, but because she wanted to live. And guess what? Gin gains absolutely nothing from this. He does it because he can. Same thing with Kira. As his subordinate, he worships Gin, and Gin lets him do so, right up until he betrays the Soul Society, which crushes him. Gin slices Hiyori in half, for crying out loud. He gets in Ichigo's head like he did with Rukia too. He tells Ichigo he's not only weak physically, but mentally, and at this point, he's right. A cool little detail here is they make a point to say that Ichigo can read his opponents when he fights them. The exception to this was Gin, because he wasn't looking at him, which is a beautifully subtle tease to his true intentions. That's not the only hint we get either. Rangiku is the one who gets hold of him before he flees the Soul Society to escape with Aizen. Before he dips, he straight up says he would have liked to have been held captive longer, and he apologizes to her. It's the most human he's been in the entire series to that point. Much later, when he reunites with her, you see how hard he tries to keep the facade going. He immediately tells Aizen she's not going to be an issue and that he'll handle her. But Aizen is like, dude, I know you care about her. Don't worry, she's not a problem. The mask is slipping, so he overcompensates. He grabs Rangiku, drags her out of sight, and pretends to kill her. When they're alone, Rangiku tells him she waited for him. Here, for a moment, a crack in his persona forms. He asks why. Then he lashes out. "Why did you have to come, you nuisance?" and knocks her unconscious. I think for him, this was too much. He was clearly emotionally impacted by her arrival, and going as far as murdering her surprised even Aizen. What
Basically, like, Gin ended up with a fucking, like, with a carved smile from the story he lived. It was a forced smile that basically became part of his, like, personality so much that it carved itself, that it became like part, like kind of like stone. It scarred him, and it left him like with the smile. Like I am, and with just this expression. This is like really beautiful storytelling that I didn't thought about. Like, this is actually like, goddamn.
comes next is everything Gin's been building toward.
Like, good on this YouTuber. What the fuck? This is like Gallenberger. This man is
Decades of smiling.
I love what he does.
Of pretending, of studying how to counter Aizen's Zanpakuto. And now, he's finally found the perfect moment. Gin says what we've all known from the first time we saw him. "I'm a snake." Then he pierces Aizen straight through the chest, leaving a fragment of his Zanpakuto buried deep inside the man who ruined everything. Not only did Gin figure out Aizen's ability, he managed to hide his own. His blade extending, that's not the full extent of its power. It also disintegrates into poison, and how fitting is that? The self-admitted snake uses his blade, his metaphorical fangs, to release his venom. He wastes no time activating his Bankai, which is called the God-killing spear, and he uses it to attempt to kill a god. The blade punches a hole straight through Aizen's chest, and Gin mocks him, saying, "Hey, now you're like your experiments." But he's not done. He even removes the Hogyoku. He doesn't take it for the power though. It's to retrieve the part of Rangiku that had been taken from her. And if you think about it from start to finish, there's a really dark allegory here that fits quite well and makes the whole angle far more tragic. It's twist after twist after twist, and it's amazing. But this is Aizen we're talking about. Mr. 4D chess, Mr. Actually, I wanted you to do that. The Hogyoku.
And sometimes, you know, like, you can be as clever and as prepared as you want. Someone that either is out for revenge or only sees his own objective can fucking, like, just knock you out. Can just knock you out and win everything over you. Just because, like, this determination is actually, like, more powerful than any type of planning. Because, like, in between, like, this overly strategic and understanding of life, there's just, like, this morality that is personal to someone that became a passion and that became, like, self-sustaining. And out of that, like, it is what wins, and sometimes it just takes this.
It returns to Aizen on its own. Then, without hesitation, he strikes back. Think about this. Everything you have done led up to this. It's not just time and effort you've sacrificed, but morality, your sense of self. Was any of this worth it? The answer is a resounding no, because in the end, he failed. There's a sense of desperation in this moment, and he reaches out only to get his arm torn clean off before getting impaled. At death's door, we go back to the moment that started it all. A girl he loved, whose smile he wanted to protect. So of course, before he passes on, Rangiku's there at the end. He's met with relief and regret at seeing her one last time. The irony is, the man who sacrificed his life to keep Rangiku from crying, at his end, caused her to do just that. In his last moments, he sees Ichigo and feels relief. This isn't the same boy with weak resolve who'd been broken by his words. This is someone who can win, and Gin dies knowing he can leave the rest to him. So why is Gin Ichimaru the MVP of Bleach? Am I biased? Absolutely. He's part of a philosophical revenge story wrapped in conspiracy theory. All things I adore. But
Yeah, but I think that, like, overall, I think it's also, like, above, like, I don't know, like, how quiet and, like non-interrupting, like, the persona of Gin is compared to a lot of others. Because, like, when it comes to, like personas, like characters in Bleach, I think that, like, Gin, it portrays, like, really, like, a feeling that is just, like, different to others, that can make you biased about it, and I understand completely because I share the same bias.
aside, when you look at Bleach's most important arc, the Soul Society, Gin is as influential as anyone. Remember, before the Aizen twist, Gin was the one who carried the weight of being the big bad for the audience. He was the snake in the grass, the one pulling strings, testing loyalties, and keeping us all on edge. In his first appearance, he's gauging Byakuya's resolve to see his sister's execution through. He's the one who meets Ichigo at the gates of the Soul Society. He could have killed Ichigo, but instead chose to let him live. And we see two different sides to him. First, ruthlessly slashing Jidanbo and attacking Ichigo, then playfully giving his iconic bye-bye like he's toying with us, which he was. Then when Aizen is murdered, who gets blamed?
One thing that, like, is like, it doesn't talk about is that, like, basically, like, the story of Gin is so lonely, and it's such a fucking, like, lonely story, because, like, from the moment, like, he saw Rangiku suffer, he was alone. in the soul society, in his personal life, in the life that like he shows to like what he sees as higher powers, higher authorities, and like he was alone all this time. And this is what like is actually like really like this point like really murdering, you know, like it's just how fucking like, because this is like I didn't thought about it. Damn.
Gin, because he's the last person seen fighting with him. Does Gin deny it? Does he try to defend himself? No, he leans into it. He manipulates that suspicion, provokes Hitsugaya into a fight, and walks away with no consequences. It's genius level misdirection. He floats through the story like a ghost. No evidence, no answers, just doubt. Even in Waco Mundo,
And technically he is like also like someone that like lives in doubt, and like because like within like, do you understand like how many like mistakes in like within like the life of Keen he can do, and it fucks him up completely, and one first and last time, and basically like, but I think like in this type of storytelling, like this type of characters, it's just like mutilated to fucking be able to just be like this, like just changed to be able to act like this. And this is why like it feels like so playful and so easy on in a way, because the suffering of like this like choice was taking so long ago before the story like started, right? The story like became like something, right? And it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Gin still maneuvering in the background, managing who fights who and keeping Aizen in check. Anytime the story has a big revelation, he's never caught off guard. He's always 2 steps ahead, and that's why whenever he appears, you're immediately on edge. You never know what he's about to do. Plus, the dude is a straight up scene stealer. Every time he's on screen, he leaves you wanting more. When Rukia sees him for the first time, she breaks into a sweat, and he's not even talking to her. That's aura, the smile, the squint, the voice, the mockery. It feels like you're being watched by a predator. People say Gin fades into the background during the middle arcs, and they're right, but that's the point. He's a snake. When you see him, you're on the edge of your seat. When you don't see him, it's because he doesn't want you to. Then in the final act of the original series, the snake strikes. His story is revealed. It's been a long con the entire time, and immediately, Gin redefines his entire role in the story. There's even a fun...
And he finally becomes himself, like in like to a public that died a long time ago. Like I understand, like damn eyes.
Theory that his jab at Rukia was intended to save her and teased his own long game, but that's probably a subject for another video. Between the manipulation, his importance to the plot, stealing the show in the 2 biggest arcs, and general entertainment, I think Gin Ichimaru is Bleach's unsung MVP. Now
I actually agree. Not MVP. Like I'd say like not MVP. All right, like I think that like there is like you can make a case, but like Gin is his own kind. I think that like it's more like this, like that like Gin is his own kind within like the story of Bleach. And I think I fucking like vibe. Subscribe to Callum Burger 1. Like this man, I found this like I find this like way to like think about anime really fascinating and really entertaining.